Hello, we are Group 1, and I'm Connor Upton.
I am Matthew Zelt.
I'm Avery Stewart.
And our root cause analysis that we had to do over a event was the Big Bayou Canot train crash. And we each had to take a role and find different information based on a role of what the root cause of the problem was. And I had the environmentalist role.
I had the various engineers role.
And I was the CEO of Amtrak during this role.
So, in our investigations, we used reputable sources, government documents. Obviously, we used different sources based on our roles. For example, I looked at the more technical reasons for the accident. Connor looked at the impact that the crash had on the environment, and Avery looked at kind of what causes this might have for Amtrak as a company.
Yeah, in that CEO role, we compiled all of this here in our poster, and we found out that there's multiple causes for this crash and how it happened, and we also detailed that in our video, because the video is kind of a newscast in a way of the event and how it happened and how everything went down, and that's basically what our video is all about. We can go and show that.
Breaking news! At 2:52 this morning, the Amtrak train number 2 Sunset Limited derailed on the Big Bayou Canot Bridge. Casualties are being counted by the authorities as we speak.
Reporters on the scene say that the train hit a displaced girder going about 72 miles an hour. Such a tragic accident for Mobile, Alabama.
Our man on the ground, Robert, is speaking with people on scene to try and get more of a laydown of the information. Take it away, Robert.
Thank you, Gary. What you see behind me here is the wreck of the Sunset Limited, which derailed earlier this morning. Authorities have found that the steel girder that threw the train off was dislodged by a collision from a towboat. The boat in question has been identified as Mont which made contact by hitting the girder at around 2:45 this morning. I've been able to get in contact with some people and request that they come down to the crash site so we may more fully understand what happened here. The authorities have just informed me that the casualties have been concluded to be 47 total. 42 total passengers and a total of 5 crew, 3 of which were engineers in the locomotive. May their souls rest in peace. With that news out of the way, let's now speak with the Amtrak CEO. Good morning, Mr. Stewart.
Thanks for having me here today.
No problem. It is my pleasure to have you on our channel today. What are your thoughts on today's accident?
Well, it's just a horrible thing that happened. It's truly an accident that will be studied and remembered by this town. The incident that went down here today was not Amtrak's fault. Personally, I blame the reckless disregard for safety by CSX for not ensuring that the bridge would be secure and safe. I believe also I must mention the poor training of the boat operators. They were not trained how to use the radar on their boat, and that's what placed them in the bayou in the first place. I hope both parties at fault will take the necessary steps in order to prevent a tragedy like this from happening again.
Thank you for your input, Mr. Stewart. Now, let's speak with the engineer. Good morning, Mr. Self. What are your thoughts on today's incident?
The incident that happened here earlier today all comes down to a couple of things. The most glaring issue is the bridge itself, which appears to have been constructed as a swing bridge to allow boats and such to pass without hitting the bridge. That, by itself, would not have been a problem. Only that the bridge was unsafe. More than that, however, it appears that the rails were continuous despite the bridge being able to separate. The importance of that is that the bridge would have had restriction lights to which tell the conductor whether the bridge is connected all the way. If it turns red, there's a disconnect in the tracks. However, this did not happen, since the rails were continuously welded to give them greater flexibility and durability. This extra flexibility, however, meant that the tracks warped rather than broke. This meant that the light stayed green and the conductor did not know the rails were working. The bridge itself should have been secured, as it was never used as a swing bridge. This oversight, as well as the tracks not breaking, ultimately paved the way for this tragedy. The Mulvilles barges moving steel girder all but here.
Good morning, Mr. Trump.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today.
It is our pleasure to have you on today's show. What are your thoughts on phase trend?
Today, from my perspective, has caused gargantuan effects on the surrounding area that the train has hit, causing oil everywhere from the trains after they flew off the tracks. About 1,500 gallons of diesel were put into the water and set ablaze, which caused massive fog clouds of smoke and just massive damage to the forest around it and the water on it. By my estimation, it cost about $1,200,000 just to clean all the pollutants out of the area and get it back to the way that it was. I can only hope that Amtrak and the other companies improve the tank of their trains so that during heavy impact, they don't spill as much oil. If disasters like these can be minimized, the damage dealt to these environments can never be the same again.
I appreciate your input on the situation, Mr. Trump. Thank you. That's all we have down here at the accident. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Robert. The effects of this disaster will stay with the town of Mobile, Alabama for a very long time. And I hope that the people lost in this disaster may rest in peace eternally. Now, we will see you at 2 in the afternoon when we have more information about this event.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to our daily news from Mobile, Alabama. As the day has gone on, our offices have received more information on the incident that happened earlier today. Our root cause analysis team was able to create a poster that is able to accurately display the events leading up to the disaster. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Jared. Behind me is the RCA poster that has been in the works ever since the crash. Several data points have been collected from authorities and the very people we interviewed.
Posters narrowed down the root cause of the problem that occurred today. Each of us investigated the person that we interviewed and found the plot points that they were mainly focused on and found which parts of their stories connected. This allowed us to find the pure cause of why what happened. For example, the engineer we interviewed earlier today revealed the biggest reason the accident was due to the swing bridge being unsecured. The CEO of Amtrak was also on today and blamed the lackluster training regimen for towboat crews. In addition, the environmentalists who went to investigate the consequences for local wildlife indicated that had the fuel tanks been built stronger, they likely would have not ruptured, which would have resulted in no fire and no adverse effects on local wildlife due to the massive amount of diesel that ended up in the water. That's all from us. Back to you.
Thanks, guys. I hope this poster can improve the outlook of today's tragic event. That's all we have for you today, though. Thanks for joining us for this new and insightful information. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Now, let's get our main show starting with that weekend weather, shall we?
So as we detailed in our video, we found that CSX was at fault for that crash because they're on a secure bridge and there was no warning lights on any of the bridges, which would have warned any of the trains that the rails were out of alignment because of the boat. But due to the boat that did misalign the tracks, CSX was at fault because of that lack of training, the lack of warning systems on their bridges.
As the environmentalist, I found that had CSX built their train fuselages to be more built for heavy impacts, less oil would have exited the train into the water and caused so much damage to the environment that would then cost tons of dollars to get the environment back to the way that it was.
As the engineer, I did extensive research on the construction of the bridge and kind of the backstory of the bridge, it was originally constructed as a swing bridge, but as mentioned in the video, was never used in such a manner. So CSX could have simply installed a shear block to prevent the bridge from moving, which would have ultimately prevented the girder from moving the 30 inches that it did and would have prevented this train accident. So I mainly just looked at the mechanical reasons for the failure.
And then for which parts of like the actual project that we did, I helped make the poster and made the script and made the entire video.
I did most of the poster work and most of the talking in the video.
I compiled most of the documentation, got that turned in, got everything signed. And, we hope you learned a lot from this. We hope you know now more about the 1993 crash of the Amtrak No. 2 Sunset Limited, and thank you for your attention.